So, anyways, welcome to Mental Health and Motivational Monday.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, we're with Paulie O'Byrne this evening.
Yeah.
I said that right?
Yeah, you said it
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Paulie has an amazing story we're going to go through. Not only that, but you've faced some tremendous hurdles that you've overcome.
Yeah.
And it's a very inspirational story to those that are about to hear it.
Yeah.
And Paulie is also someone who is sober, so it's nice. I think you're the first person I've talked to that's been, well, maybe the second person, but first person on the podcast that has been sober with me.
Right on.
So this is cool.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, sure. You will. Where's your rock star?
I'll
There you
drink
go.
to that for sure.
Rockstar and green tea. I love it. So Paulie, tell me a little bit about yourself, because you're the founder of a really cool organization called 1 in 5, right? And also a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what 1 in 5 is first of all, and how that kind of came into your life.
Cool. So 1 in 5 is it's the stat of males who are sexually abused in Canada, but it's also a stat of Canadians who are affected by addiction and mental illness. So it kind of
all goes hand in hand. Yeah.
So I didn't know about 1 in 5 like my whole life until I didn't even know about it until just recently. Well, in 2011, I went to a golf tournament and I met Theo Fleury. And
really? And he's the one that told you about 1 in 5?
Well, he said, if 1 in 5 guys are going through this, where's the resources?
Right.
And I looked around, there was none.
Yeah, sure.
I have been to the sexual assault center here in London, and they said, sorry, we don't have programming for men.
Really?
And I'm like, what am I,
So this is the first of its kind almost in London, Ontario.
Yeah, kind of. So we've come a long way with sexual abuse, and raising awareness against males. And I don't think it's a gender issue, and I think it's a power and control issue. I don't think that sexual abuse at all is a gender issue. And I know that people will argue with me on that, but I fully believe that it's it's a power and control thing. So I was at this golf tournament, and Theo said, hey, why don't you tell your friends? And I didn't know how to tell my friends. I grew up with a bunch of hockey boys. How am I going to tell them that I was sexually abused by another male?
Right.
How is this going to work? And
yeah.
So he said, why don't you start a Facebook page? And so I started a Facebook page with 6 guys. And
so did you tell these 6 guys beforehand what you were planning on doing, and they knew about or did everybody just kind of find out on Facebook?
Yeah, they just kind of found it on Facebook.
Really?
I was sitting around with them, and I said, hey, fellas, I got something deep I got to tell you, right? And we're used to talking about Metallica and hockey and not sexual abuse.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were just sitting around, and I said, hey, I'm just gonna add you to this Facebook group. And so they all kind of found out that way. And I'll always remember they're pretty big boys.
Yeah.
And they all give me a great big hug, and that's the last thing I ever expected when I told my friends. I thought my friends would leave.
Yeah.
If I ever told them, and they all got up and gave me a great big hug. And
really?
They're always there for me.
So that was a pleasant surprise.
It was very pleasant.
Good, man.
It was.
Good.
Yeah, for sure.
So we kind of jumped into a pretty big issue. So do you want to go back and explain what kind of happened? Tell us about your life sort of before the incident, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And then what happened afterwards and how things kind of changed for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a pretty lengthy story for sure, but
we got a full hour.
We got a full hour. Perfect.
Yeah.
So it starts in Halifax. I was born in Halifax on an army base.
Okay.
My dad was in the military. Pretty strict house growing up. My mom was a developmental service worker, and then she worked with kids that were going to school that had mental delays and stuff like that. So she was kind of, she didn't really say much, but my dad was very authoritative and very strict in the house. So as much as my dad, and I would say this, he was my hero, but I was scared shitless of him.
Sure.
I was so scared of him. And he was 6'5", 250 pounds, just a beast of a man, right? Just scared the shit out of me. So I grew up in fear and not knowing about kind of life things, right? We didn't have the birds and the bees talk. We didn't talk about sex. We were a very conservative family. It looked good on the outside of our front door, but the inside there was, a lot of abuse. There was a lot of neglect. There was stuff that, that I never, later in life, I thought every kid went through this stuff. And, and later I learned, not every kid, gets threatened by their dad.
Right.
Not every kid.
Do you think that's typical military style, or do you think that was unique to your family?
I'm not really sure. I don't really know much about other military families. I just know that it's weird that I'm covered in tattoos now, but my dad said if you ever get a tattoo or your ears pierced, like you're shunned from this family. And I think like now, like, what do you think of me now?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm covered in tattoos and I have my ears pierced, and it's probably been an act of defiance, to be honest with you. It's like
just to be yourself. You want to be you.
To be me, because I didn't get a chance to do that. Although, like, I played a lot of hockey. Like, I always played hockey. So it wasn't a terrible childhood, because I always was at the rink. So I played a lot of hockey, and that my brother played hockey, my dad played hockey. That was kind of the way it went all the way up. I wasn't a gamer. I didn't spend a lot of time on the computer or watching television. I was outside a lot of the time.
You were the sports guy.
I was the sports guy for sure.
I was that kind of kid as well. Yeah.
It was fun. Like, get muddy, eat sand.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
It's fun to do that stuff. Right?
I remember. It's a different time, right? It's a different time now.
No one wants to eat sand now because there could be a needle in it, right?
No one
wants to do that. It's not good protein or something, you know?
I guess not.
It was a challenging childhood for sure. I remember some awful things happening, and it started pretty young. When I was 9 years old, my grandfather passed away, and he was kind of, I don't know, like, he wasn't as mean as my dad, and he loved me, right? And I think, I don't know if my other cousins would say this, but I always thought like I was his favorite, right?
Yeah, sure.
I always thought like he made me feel that way, right? He made me feel really loved and really wanted, and he was such a cool guy, and he passed away really young when I was 9 years old. And it's funny that I'm 32 now, and from 9 till 31 and a half, I'd been to a funeral like every 6 months.
Really?
And like that's not something that I want to grow up with, right?
No kidding. I
didn't know how to deal with death very well, but I'm accustomed to it now as a 32-year-old guy. Like, I've been to more funerals than weddings. And that sucks, but it is what it is, right? It means that I've loved a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day. And so I went through a little bit of like adversity that way. I didn't know how to, like, that was how I found out that Santa Claus wasn't real, right? Because I didn't get a phone call that year.
Really?
And, like, he would always call and say, ho, ho, ho.
So
like,
that was your grandpa that would call you as Santa Claus?
Yeah, and he didn't call that year, and that's how I found out. Like, I put the 2 and 2 together. I thought everyone had a Newfoundland like Santa Claus, right? I thought Santa Claus like came from St. John's.
That's a pretty cool thing for him to do in the first place.
It was so awesome, right? And I really thought, like, man, like, this is so cool. He sounds like my poppy. Like, he sounds like my grandpa. It's Santa Claus, right? Yeah. So it's cool, but like, so that stuff started happening, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Like, I lost a really good friend in a car accident when I was 16. Like, a girl that I loved with all my heart when we were 16, right? And then my best friend got killed rock climbing when I was 18, and like, I was supposed to be with him, but I had an exam, so I didn't go with him. Like, I was gonna meet him up the next day, and so that kind of happened. And my parents were so like, we got to pay the bills, we're gonna pay the mortgage. Screw your feelings, like, go on with life. If you have tough feelings, like, soldier up kind of thing. So I suppressed a lot of that emotion about that stuff, and I was a tough guy. And in hockey, I was the fighter. Do you know what I mean? So that's where I got a lot of my emotions out. Like,
just getting in brawls on the ice
all the time. Like, I think I only have 34 points. In 4 years, and I have 600 penalty minutes.
Are you serious?
Like, I think I did pretty well in the penalty department for sure.
That's not bad.
No, and like, I can throw them. I could, and that was something that, I mean, it was great that I could be known as that, as a protector.
You were an enforcer.
I was, for sure.
Cool.
And like, I'm not a fighter now. I'm a lover, not a fighter. But that was my role in hockey. I wasn't very talented, but I had a ton of like work ethic. Yeah. Like, and I just went and played.
And it sounds like you had a lot of sort of pent up aggression too that needed to get released.
Yeah. And that was the like best way to do it, right? When I got kicked out, like, I was that guy who's like showing the belt, or like, like putting my arms up. Like,
you were flashy when
I was
you won?
that guy, yeah. I was like, come after me,
So you're an entertainer a bit too.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit, I guess, for sure.
Fair enough.
So that and I loved playing hockey. I loved playing at that level, and I loved the guys and the community that we kind of built, a brotherhood of hockey. And so I broke my leg when I was 19, and that kind of ended the playing stuff. So I got right I went to Lambton College and got my coach's certificate.
Sure. So you broke your leg, and that was kind of the end of the hockey career. How did you break your leg?
In hockey.
In hockey?
Yeah, a guy hit me knee on knee.
Oh.
And like shattered my kneecap. And
at least you went out doing what you love, right? And it wasn't something that was just like falling off the porch.
Yeah.
That'd be a little more...
It was tough, for sure. Like, that was kind of, I think, the first time I ever felt depression. I just didn't know what depression was at that point. But I definitely got depressed after that, because all I'd done for 19 years was play hockey.
Yeah.
And it was taken away. Like, I remember I can still sit here and hear the doctor saying, like, you're done. Like, you're going to be in a brace for 12 months.
Right.
Good luck putting a pair of skates on.
So after that, did you did you know that you were going to just go right to college, or were you considering, because you seem like someone that doesn't take orders, right?
Yeah.
So were you thinking about maybe going against those doctor's orders and getting back on the skates anyway?
Oh, for sure. Like, I went to Lambton College and I got in.
Yeah.
But I know Dino Cicerelli, who is the GM of Sarnia Sting.
Yep.
And I said, hey, Dino, like, can you give me a shot at camp? And he said, like, just come out as a walk-on to camp. And I lasted 3 days, and I went to him and said, like, I just can't. My legs are screwed. Like, I just can't do it.
Really? So you tried?
I tried, for sure. But I just couldn't keep up with because I hadn't really done anything that summer for rehab.
Right.
So I lasted 3 days.
You're just resting on the leg.
Yeah, like, and that was it. And the guys were like, that I was, trying out with, they were, working out all summer and like training.
Dryland training.
Yeah, and I wasn't at all. I was just trying to like get a little bit of muscle back in my leg and then like chill out on the beach. And
sure.
And Dino gave me an awesome opportunity there, right?
Yeah.
But I thanked him for it. And so I stayed in Sarnia and I got my NCCP, like my National Canadian Coaches Program thing at 20. So I don't know. There's not too many people that do that at that age. Like,
sure.
And I was just very proud to do that, and I put in a ton of work. And it was a 3-year program, and I went my first year program. Like, my first year, got my coaches, and
awesome.
Like, took off. So
yeah,
it was super cool. And I met a girl. Like, I met this girl on the first day of college.
It's always a girl, man.
It's always a girl. She was like blonde, curly hair, mini skirt, drunk. I was like, I'm going to marry this girl.
Yeah.
This is my kind of woman.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre. I ended up, being engaged to her and having a child with that girl.
Really?
Which is so bizarre down the road.
It was down the road, so it wasn't at that time?
No, but I met her on the first day of school and I was like, yep, like she is the one.
Wow.
For sure, yeah.
Wow.
And so we started dating. Her name was Amber. We started dating in college. And so she moved back home to a place just outside of Simcoe, called Delhi, Ontario, and it's not my favorite spot in Ontario at all, but
okay.
She sued me back there, and so I got a job at a welding shop, just because I'd welded for a little bit, and there was a thing that came up by the convenience store. It said they were hiring hockey coaches for the Delhi Minor Hockey Association, so
yep,
I was like, perfect, like this works. I just got this job. I got a sweet girl. Like, I'm gonna go coach hockey. Like, I'm living the dream. I'm
sure.
Like 21 years old.
You're 21 at this time.
Yeah.
So you're with your girl that you met the first day of school.
Yeah.
And where were you? Where did you meet at school? Like which area?
I think it was like after like first day. I think we all had a party in the courtyard.
And
And like we were just all like, yay! First time away from home. We were all drunk off like 6 beers, right?
Yeah. And what made it? Did she finish her program, or did you guys just go back to Delhi, right?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So she was taking nursing and didn't finish it.
Yep.
And so she like did her PSW through continuing education, but did it from Delhi.
Okay.
So
and you decided that you were going to move back there with her.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah, because I was in love with her.
All right.
Yeah. That was.
Young love, man.
Yeah, young love. I was like, where is Delhi? Like, where is this town, right?
Yeah.
But it was close to a beach, right? Like, it's close to Turkey Point, Port Dover, and I'm a beach fan. So
sure. Me too.
I was like, all right, well, Delhi it is.
Yep.
So that's how that worked. I don't know. There's not very many people in Delhi. Like,
no.
And it's not like the greatest. It's a tobacco town, right?
Is it?
Yeah, there's just not my favorite place at all.
But she was there.
She was there, and I thought, okay, like let's play house. We got an apartment. And things were going good. So I remember like getting contacted about putting my application in
for the coaching.
And this lady said, like we've never had a 20-year-old with the credentials that you have. Like we would love for you to at least talk to the president of minor hockey, and it was her husband that she was calling about, and so she said, go and meet him. There's like a minor hockey barbecue, like a fundraiser, and it was just Delhi's not very big, so she said just walk down and like he's expecting you, and I said all right, perfect. Like this is the start of another journey, and like Amber was pretty excited for me as well. Like I was gonna be a hockey coach, so I went and met the guy. He's super knowledgeable in hockey. He's the president of minor hockey. He was the president of the Legion. He was the fire chief. Citizen of the Year. Yeah. Sounded like a stand-up guy, right?
Sure.
And he was nice enough to me. He was personable to me. And he said, do you want to come to a practice that afternoon? And so in my head, like, I've been around the game long enough, but I thought, like, this is moving pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is moving fast. Like, I just met you and you want me to strap on my skates this afternoon.
Yeah.
So I did, and I went out with this team and their tryout, and it wasn't like the caliber hockey that I thought I was going to be coaching. Like, it was still pretty good hockey. Like, they were just older guys, but it was like I was used to pretty competitive hockey, and it was like a B center, and I was used to kind of like AAA hockey. But I thought, like, I get to teach these guys something. Like, it'll be fun enough. And there was another coach there that he was just a parent, and he just wanted to learn about this stuff. So I thought maybe I could teach this guy a little bit of stuff. And it was cool. So this president of minor hockey was at the practice, and he said, I'm going to slide by your house on Tuesday night and grab your coach's certificates, because I just don't keep them with me. Like, I don't keep them in my wallet. There's not really any point in that. Like, I just keep them at home.
Yep. File them away. Keep them safe.
Keep them safe. So he called me on the Tuesday night. I just got home from the shop, and he said, I'm coming over. And Amber had to go to Sarnia for something to do with school. I can't even remember what it was. So she was gone. And he came over and picked me up. Oh, excuse me. And this is like, and I'll talk about this, but it's like, I know I'm getting into the shit, right?
Yeah,
like, I know that I'm getting into the stuff, and like, I'm not ashamed to talk about this stuff. It's just super hard. And
I know, buddy, and I appreciate that. And it's because you kind of relive it in a little bit, right?
A little bit.
So, a little bit, yeah.
And I've worked through it, right? I really have worked through this stuff, and I'm comfortable telling you this. I'm not even afraid to get vulnerable.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
I hope not.
It just, like, it still hits me.
I
Do you know what I mean?
I
so
know. Take your time, buddy. Yeah, there's no rush here. It's all good. Take a sip of your Rockstar. Yeah. But it's a really powerful story, and I wasn't really even fully aware of it until we talked earlier before doing this podcast. Yeah. So I realized how hard this is for you. Yeah. Originally, I thought we were just going to be talking sort of more mental health and alcohol and drugs and things like that, and addiction, but I didn't realize there was sort of a monumental event that took place that kind of led to a lot of it. Yeah,
and that's what it was. Like, I drank, and I always tell people, like, I'm from the East Coast, like, born in Halifax, and I'm Irish. Like, that. Pretty well screwed off the top, right, for alcohol. Like, I'm destined to be an alcoholic.
If you fit into those stereotypes, I suppose.
I'm just screwed, right? And I kind of embraced that. But I didn't really drink that heavy in high school. Like, I drank like an Irish teenager, right? Like, that's just the way I drank, and it went to some pretty epic like, points that I didn't know was possible, like, after this happened. So I was in Delhi. He came pick me up. He said, let's go to Simcoe to watch a hockey practice. And I thought that was pretty normal, that, like, just go see how the organization works, see another team, like, see how their systems work. And that's kind of how, like, each organization has different systems, how they like to train their teams all the way up. And so everyone knows all that. So I knew that kind of would be happening. So we got to this rink, and there was no one there.
Really?
And I was like, like, never thinking sexual abuse, but I was like, that's weird that, like, no one's at the rink. So he fumbled with his phone, and, like, I don't even know if he called someone, but he was like, oh, I must have the nights mixed up and shit like that. And I was like, whatever. Like, it's getting on like 8 o'clock at night. I got to work in the morning. Like, let's just head back to Delhi.
Right.
I got to go home and go to sleep, and Amber's going to be late. And I just want to get home and do my thing, right? I just wanted to give you my certificates. So we went back to Delhi, and he pulled in this, like, one of the ethnic halls there. It's like the Belgian club or one of the, I don't know, Canadian club or something like that there. He said, well, let's just go in and have a beer. And I was like, dude, like, it's a Tuesday night. I got to work in the morning. Like, I'm really not into it. But, you want to keep talking hockey. Cool. You seem like a nice enough guy.
Sure.
So I went, and I probably had like 2 or 3 beers, and that was it. Like, over an hour. And I was like, I got to get going.
Yeah.
Here's my certificates. Photocopy them. Bring them back to me. I don't care. I got to get going.
Yeah.
And he kind of, like, just pressured me to stay there. And I was like, what's with this guy? Like,
right.
Like, dude, I got my own shit going on, right? Like,
did you think maybe he just needed some friends at
like
that time?
I thought he was lonely.
Yeah,
right.
Fair enough.
Maybe his wife hated him.
Yeah,
like, and he just wanted to hang out. There was not really anyone in the bar.
Yeah,
like, it was just kind of us two talking about. And at this point, we weren't even talking about hockey. We were talking about, like, life stuff, about like where I grew up, and about my family. And it wasn't even about hockey stuff. So that was. Like, I look back now, and I think that's a huge red flag, right?
Right.
And I didn't know that then. Like, I just had no idea.
How would you, right? I mean,
never.
They don't teach that stuff.
No, never at all.
Right?
So I did that, and I finally was like, by like 10:30, was like, I'm just going to walk home. Like, it's not very far at all. I'm not drunk. Like, I've had 3 beers. I know exactly where I'm going, where my keys are, what apartment I'm in. Like, I've had 3 beers and driven before. Like, I'm okay to walk home. He's like, no, I'll drive you. So he said, I'm leaving. I'll pay for the beers. He paid for the beers. We got in his truck, and he drove me home.
Yeah.
And so I got out of his truck, and I had to walk up a set of stairs to my apartment.
Yeah.
And by the time I got to the top of the stairs, he was right behind me, and he locked me in my apartment, and he raped me for 45 minutes.
Really? So he followed you right in the building?
Yeah. He like turned around and locked the door. And that's when, like...
And you lived with Amber, right?
Yeah.
But she wasn't there, and he knew she wasn't there?
Yeah, he knew it. Because she had said something on the Sunday when we were at the hockey practice.
Yeah.
That she had to go away on Tuesday night, and he picked up on that. That I would be home alone, yeah.
Wow.
So it changed everything. I being raped, like changed my morals, changed my values, changed like who I was. Like it was the most bizarre, scary, frightening, like overwhelming feeling I've ever had in my life, right?
So what did you like? What were your next steps? I mean, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I mean, that shouldn't happen to anyone ever. What were the next steps that you kind of took in this fucked up situation?
Yeah. So I sat there on my couch naked.
Yeah.
And I'll always remember him saying, "If you tell anyone, I'll kill you."
Really?
And like, and then I'll remember him saying like that he was gonna come back the next week and do it again. And I thought in my head like, not a fucking chance, pal.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
No way you're doing this. So I probably sat there for 45 minutes on my couch naked, contemplating what I do. Like, do I call the police? Did this really just happen?
Sure,
like,
you're in shock.
Like, no way. Like, is this for real? And so I got the balls to dial 911, and like that took everything out of me to dial 3 numbers.
No kidding.
Police came. I went to the police station, like was basically treated like a criminal there. Like I was interviewed in the same room as he was interviewed in the next day.
Really?
Like the cops really didn't believe me. I was a 21-year-old guy, right? Like
yeah.
The cops aren't going to believe that. And so the police arrested him the next day, and he admitted that he did it. And then
really?
Yeah. Like,
he admitted it?
Yeah, right away. Which I was like, holy shit, like this is real.
Yeah.
Like, this is real. And then it hit the press. It was all over the press for like 3 months before other people came out, and some other guys came out. And
so this wasn't the first time he'd done this?
No, but I was kind of the whistleblower on it. I kind of put a stop to it for now.
Yeah.
And some other guys came out in support. And so I went through that process, the court process, for a full year of like being remanded, and finally said in front of a judge that he'd plead guilty. And
wow.
That was...
that's fucked up, man.
It was terrible.
Holy shit.
It was terrible.
So, like, what do you think? I mean, were you expecting him to admit that?
Never.
That's yeah. Like, that's just it's a good thing that it happened. Yeah. Like, it probably would have been even worse for you if he didn't. Have you ever thought about if he tried to fight you on that?
Like, and that's what I thought when I was going to the police. Like when the police go talk to him, he's not even going to say that he was with me.
Right. Like, he could make up some bullshit story.
Whatever. He's the president of this and that. Like, no one's going to believe this unknown 21-year-old who just moved to Delhi. Right. Over the Citizen of the Year.
No kidding.
Like, that's what I was thinking about. But I regretted calling the police like pretty well instantly.
Yeah.
I regretted it, and that was tough. Like, so at the police station, I called Amber and I said, like, can you come pick me up from Simcoe police station? She freaked.
Sure.
Like, because she didn't know what was going on, and I just told her to pick me up at a police station. Like,
yeah.
And I didn't tell her anything else, so she freaked, and then got there, and our ride from Simcoe police station to Delhi, like, we didn't speak.
Really?
We just didn't know what to say to each other, and it was the most silent, awkward.
But she knew what had happened to you at that point? You explained it?
Yeah, well, I explained it, and she wasn't very... She didn't
know how to take it, or
well, she didn't believe me. Like, she didn't believe that it happened, which really sucked because I thought I trusted this girl. Right. I thought like everything about this girl was like for me.
You
like
moved to Delhi for it.
Yeah, like I moved to this shitty little tobacco town for you, and now you're not going to believe me.
Yeah.
So that was pretty tough. Like, she was adamant about that until he pled guilty. Like, a year later, she was very adamant about not believing me, and
even though he had admitted it to the cops, though.
Yeah. She would always say, like, you got to go to the police station and like tell them that this didn't happen.
Really?
at 21, why would I make this up?
No kidding.
This is the last thing that I would want to make up.
Absolutely.
At 20, at any age, do you know what I mean? I think this is the last thing. So that sucked. And I lost all my trust for her.
Yeah.
In that. And
no kidding.
I started self-harming the day after
So what do you mean by self-harming?
I burned myself.
You just did you feel like somehow this was brought on or
well, I thought that I invited it somehow, like maybe gave this guy, body language that I wanted it, or I invited it, or I thought, maybe he thought I was gay.
Yeah.
Or like I never thought that it was a power and control thing.
Sure.
Never until like I got into therapy, but I questioned a lot of things after it happened. Like I burnt myself because I felt like I had this layer of like shit all over me.
Yeah, just like you couldn't get off in the shower.
Yeah, and that's how I burnt myself. Like was in the shower. I would put all the hot water on, and like no cold, and I had a pretty like high pressure shower, and so I burned my legs, my stomach.
Really?
And like my privates and like everywhere because I felt that fucking disgusting. Like I just felt so gross.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be around anyone. Like started boozing quite a bit.
So before this whole incident, you didn't have a problem with drugs or alcohol, correct?
No, not really. Like
no?
I'd experimented with pot and I drank, but nothing major.
Right. You were just a young guy having fun.
Just a young guy having fun, yeah. Like if I went to a field party, for sure I'm going to bring some beers. But if I'm sitting at home, I'm not going to be smoking dope out back. You know what I mean? Like,
and you're not sitting there drinking by yourself or anything?
No, that was never the thing. I think, I drank like 6 tall boys back then and I'd have like a good time, right?
Yeah.
Like after that, I would drink 6 tall boys for breakfast.
Right.
That's how I woke up and that's how I could function, or that's how I thought I could function.
So it seems like this played such an effect that you needed to numb yourself to get through the days.
Yeah, because I didn't know how, and I didn't know how to tell anyone. I didn't know how to tell my supporter, my buddies. Like Amber didn't believe me. How am I going to tell anyone else?
Yeah, right? That must have been hard.
So I hit it hard. I got into boozing every day, and then I found cocaine, and then I found crystal meth, and then I went all the way to heroin. And
so did this so this happened when you were 21. So tell me about sort of how you kind of spiraled into becoming an addict, I guess, for lack of better terms, right?
It was quick.
It was quick.
It was very quick. Like pretty rapid. I would say by the time he pled guilty, which was 11 and a half months later, I was pretty well full-fledged into crystal meth.
Really?
Like a full-fledged crystal meth addict. Like I remember because the day he was sentenced to basically nothing was the first day that I ever had a suicide attempt. And
sorry, when did you have the suicide attempt?
And it was July 7th, 2007.
You remember the date?
Yeah.
Really?
07.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so bizarre.
And how did you, if you don't mind me asking, how did you attempt to end your life?
So he pled guilty, and the judge gave him 3 months house arrest, and I got to watch him leave the courthouse, and that crippled me.
Sure, that was it for you.
That was it. I was like, this guy gets to get into his pickup truck and go home to his wife.
After all the shit that you've been through.
And I have to leave the courthouse, and now what, right?
Yeah.
And now what? So I broke into my friend's house, I went back home, and I had a buddy who was a hunter, and he was a mechanic, like he was a auto mechanic, so I knew that he wouldn't be home, he'd be working all day.
Yep.
And so I broke into his house and loaded up his 12 gauge and
wow.
Sat on his couch, and he'd heard what happened on the radio, and we were pretty good friends. So he got off work and said, like, I got to go be with my buddy.
Yeah.
So he came home to get changed, and I was sitting on his couch with a
shotgun in your mouth.
Yeah.
Holy
And he lost his mind. Like he lost his mind.
Well, that's traumatizing for him.
Yeah.
Too, right?
I didn't. I was like, fuck it. You're gonna have to clean this mess up.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you're not thinking at that time.
No,
I get it. Yeah.
Like, I just didn't care at all.
Yeah.
So we drank for that, and he's like, we're going to the hospital, and I was like, no, we're not. And we drank all that afternoon, and I don't condone that at all, but I think like that probably saved my life, drinking all afternoon and not going to the hospital.
Really?
Like I was with someone that.
So he sat there and after that and tried to drink with you and be buddy.
Just be my buddy.
Just to get through it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, in that situation, it's not like any of us know what to do in that situation unless you're trained for it.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that's like, he's an auto mechanic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he knows how to rent. He doesn't know how to deal with someone.
He just wants to keep you alive.
Yeah. And that's like I'm still friends with him till this day, right?
Sure.
He lives back home now, so I don't see him as often, but I still, hold him very close to my heart. And I think he saved my life that day. And it was tough. It was tough. I can tell you, I never want to taste gun oil ever again.
No shit.
It's something that stays in your mouth forever.
Fuck. Yeah, no kidding.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
So you said first attempt. So after this happened, how long and what was it, the next thing that kind of led to another attempt?
It wasn't very long, actually. We finally moved because I begged Amber to move out of Delhi. So we were there for like another 11 months after I was raped. And
that was enough.
Well, like I wanted to move the next day, right? And Amber didn't want to move because, her family was close to there. And so finally we said, like, we got to get out of here. And we moved back to Sarnia because we knew some people there and it's comfortable there. And I got an interview at Imperial Oil. And so I was going to go work nights at the oil refinery. And so maybe start of a turnaround a little bit, but I was still using every day and still drinking every day. We just needed a fresh start. So that happened, and like 2 weeks later we moved after like my first suicide attempt, and within the first week in Sarnia I was on the outside of the balcony on her 8th floor, and I was ready to go, and she dragged me back, like gave me like a full Nelson and dragged me back over the and then I went to the hospital and went through a crisis center, and they treat you like garbage in there, like a criminal if you want to end your life, and a pretty terrible situation. And stayed in observation for 3 days and didn't talk to anyone for 3 days, and then they just prescribed me medication. I abused that. I was like, oh, you're giving me sleeping pills. Perfect. Like, I can crush those up and snort them. Thank you.
Really?
I don't have to pay for my drugs anymore.
Wow.
What a great program.
So did Amber know that you were using through this whole time?
No, I tried to keep it pretty. I think she knew something was up, but I tried to keep it pretty low key from her because I was scared of what. I didn't want her to leave me because I was an addict, right? But I think she probably knew something was up.
Sure.
Because it's pretty tough to hide crystal meth, right? It's pretty tough to hide, like, when you're doing blow all the time. And, like, I told her that I had a job, and I really didn't have a job. I was getting into crime, like identity theft and fraud. And that ended up in I got away with stealing a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I'm not proud of that at all, but that's how I fueled my addiction. And I got to a point like it was over $250,000 that I'd stolen and had nothing to show for it. I had no teeth left. I had scabs all over my arms, and
man.
That's the way it kind of went.
So you went through obviously a shitload in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you tried once by shotgun, once to jump off the balcony. Your girlfriend saved you. Your buddy saved you.
Yeah.
What sort of was the next step after you've gone and you've tried to get recovery one time at this point?
At this point, just one time. Yeah. So then that's kind of what introduced me to. I got sentenced to 55 days in a treatment center in Hamilton, or go to jail. So I pulled the addiction card, even though at that point I was like, I'm not an addict.
Right.
I just didn't believe that I was, and even knowing, that I'd spent that much money on drugs, I didn't believe I was an addict still.
Right.
So I went to this treatment center in Hamilton, and that was my first time ever going to treatment, and I was like, this ain't for me. Like, these guys live under a bridge.
Sure.
Like I live in my house with my girlfriend.
Right.
So that was kind of my first.
So you were just comparing yourself to the people that were a little worse at that time.
Yeah, I compared myself right out the door.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, how recovery works. You can't compare yourself. You got to identify with other people and not compare.
Right.
I think that's what really was a switch for me later in life. But at that point, I just wasn't ready.
Fair enough.
To get sober. So I went to work on. Me and Amber were struggling a lot because she didn't like that I had stolen $250,000.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tough thing. She didn't know.
So this was like while you were between, was it between the first and the second attempt that you sort of weren't working and started racking up this identity theft and stealing money sort of thing?
It started then, just after the first one, because I was like, I didn't know how to get drugs, and I needed to get drugs. I wanted to keep it kind of low key, and I did some shady shit. You know what I mean? So
do you think a lot of the crime that goes on, sort of low-level crime, is to fuel addiction?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
And you've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, firsthand. So I think that's what fueled it, really, was that there was a little bit of a thrill, and I knew that if I got a certain amount of money that I could get a certain amount of drugs. And that's the only thing I associated with money was drugs. Like, I didn't associate it with diapers or, I had a son. We had a son a year after I was molested, and I'm not proud of this at all, but like 3 hours after he was born, I had like an 8 ball of cocaine in me because I was so like wrapped up in my addiction, right?
Right.
Like, I left a brand new baby at the hospital.
Yeah, sure.
A brand new mom at the hospital, so I could go get high.
Well, and sometimes that's tough to deal with when you have this stuff going on in reality and you're trying to escape it so heavily. A baby coming into your life is something that will push you towards an 8-ball.
Oh man!
So,
did it ever?
Yeah,
did it ever? I wasn't a very good dad to Nathan. I know that. Like I definitely wasn't a very good dad to him.
How old is Nathan now?
He's 10.
He's 10.
Yeah, he'll be 10.
Yeah,
and I haven't been in his life for a while now, and it's probably for the best. Like at the time that that me and Amber broke up, because I was so wrapped up in addiction that I couldn't get sober for Nathan, and I couldn't get sober for Amber, and I couldn't get sober for myself at that point, right? So I think I didn't want him to grow up with an addict dad and like someone in active recovery, and his mom isn't. I mean, Amber's. I don't even know where they are now. So
really,
that's a tough thing, but that's another. I mean, that's probably another podcast.
Yeah, sure, a whole other podcast. Yeah.
I want him to know that I love him and that I'm his dad and that I'm proud of him.
Sure.
I want him to be proud of me.
Yeah. Well, I think he would be. I mean, look at all the stuff you're doing now. I mean, you're doing a lot to help other people. Just sharing this story is helping other people. I know I've learned a lot. So, I mean, let's kind of go back a little bit further to, because you obviously went through some more shit after this.
Yeah.
So, how many attempts have you done total, do you think?
I have like 3 documented suicide attempts, but like 4 kind of actual attempts. So I broke up with Amber. I went to work on the boats.
Yeah.
I went to work on a tugboat. It was awesome. Great experience. I could drink all day. Season ended and I was like, oh shit, like I have no home to go to.
Yeah.
Like what's going to happen now? So being the addict that I was, I shacked up with a girl like instantly just so I could have a house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I fell in love with someone who I didn't really love. And so we were together for 2 years. And
was she using drugs as well? Or
she drank a lot.
She drank.
Yeah.
So she just kind of keep you company while you drank.
Yeah. And that was it was cool enough for me. And so things were going on inside my brain, right, about this sexual assault. Like, how do you tell a girl that like you're sexually assaulted? And like when you don't want to have sex and you can't explain to her that you're going through like triggers,
right?
Like that was super tough. And so I got to a point where I was taking sleeping pills to shut off some nightmares that I was going through, and I just told her that I was just going through some like life stress stuff and I needed to take these sleeping pills. And so I remember June 15th, 2010, it was my last suicide attempt. I went and like filled a prescription of Seroquel, like 80 pills, and I took 80 sleeping pills, and I
holy
drank
shit,
40 Gibsons.
Wow.
I went for a walk, and it sucks, like, and I feel so bad about this, but her like 12-year-old little sister found me in a ditch coming home from school, like on their school bus. She's like, hey, it's my sister's boyfriend, and like a school bus full of kids. So I called an ambulance, and like this is all just documented stuff on my like medical records. Like my heart rate was 7 beats a minute when they found me.
7 beats a minute?
And like they had defib me, and so I have like a heart arrhythmia now from that. Like
really?
I woke up in the hospital being like so fucking mad.
No
like,
kidding.
So mad that I couldn't do it. Like I was like, I can't even do
yourself.
this.
Well, I think it's perfectly clear now that you're here for a reason.
Like
I mean,
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think after all these suicide attempts and people keep bringing you back, there's a reason. There must
be. Yeah, I was like, fuck, come on, like I can't even do this. So I really put all my energy at that point into drinking because I wanted to drink myself to death.
Right.
And that was kind of, I moved out. I moved into my 92 Honda Accord and I became homeless.
So you're homeless, and how long was this after the ordeal with the coach, the president of the Hockey Association?
So I was 26, so it was 5 years after.
So 5 years you'd been kind of running away from this whole experience.
Not telling anyone,
You've been burying this whole thing, self-harming, self-medicating, and just trying to keep this all to yourself for 5 years?
Yeah.
Fuck.
And it was tough. It broke me.
Yeah.
It finally broke me, and I was okay living in my car. It's a tough thing. Like, and I think now looking back, like, I'm so damn proud of myself that I don't live in my car, and like that I love paying rent.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I love seeing approved when I pay rent.
Yeah.
It's the greatest feeling ever.
Yeah.
It was such an interesting time. I went to a treatment center, and that was kind of the last place that I had to go for treatment. I relapsed afterwards, but it was like the last treatment center I had to go here in London, and they really helped me just learn about my addiction and learn about what fueled it, and that I had to talk about the sexual abuse, and then I had to talk about the trauma that was kind of underlying and fueling this.
Who was the first person that you told about the sexual abuse?
I told Theo Fleury.
Really? He was the first person?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So, and how long ago was that?
Oh, man.
Like, did you tell him during some of your benders, or was it
Yeah.
after? Yeah.
Yeah. So a friend of mine knew Theo, and he knew that I was struggling, but didn't understand why I was struggling. I think he kind of figured it out that, like, I was in Delhi, told everyone that I was going to be a coach, and I never coached that year.
Right.
And he knew that the president was charged with sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And then didn't hear from me. And I think he just kind of put the puzzle pieces together.
No kidding.
And got a hold of Theo, and I always remember, like, looking at the phone and saying, like, Theo Fleury on the call display. And
Wow.
what? Like, I watched this guy for years play hockey.
Yeah.
I know that he had just written his book, Playing with Fire.
Yeah.
What's this guy doing calling me?
Right.
And he said, hey, I hear that you're struggling. Like, do you want to talk about anything?
Really?
And I finally was like, fuck, man, I don't know how to say this, but, like, I was raped. And he's like, me too.
Really?
And he just made it, like, a cool, brotherly kind of conversation. That was how
so he didn't make it like a huge deal.
No.
He just kind of helped you through it.
Yeah, helped me through it. And I mean, I've called Theo wasted before, and he doesn't like it, but
Yeah.
his wife doesn't like it, that's for sure.
Sure.
Calling and saying, like, fuck you. You
Yeah.
know, you just, like, take resentments out on everyone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was kind of the first guy that I disclosed to, and he helped me out a lot. And
Yeah.
it was, like, disclosing sexual abuse is a really tough thing, but I look back now, and I'm so glad that I did. Like, because it empowered me, and it empowered so many other people.
Yeah.
To even if you haven't been through sexual abuse, just to talk about any trauma or any stuff with recovery, right? Like,
Right.
I think most addicts don't just wake up and say, hey, I'm going to try heroin today, see if it's for me.
Right. There's a reason behind it.
There's a reason behind it, and they're trying to escape a lot of things, and that's certainly what I was trying to do, was escape some sort of pain. And then I told people, and it got a little bit easier and a little bit easier, and it was on and off. And Theo gave me a wicked opportunity to go out west and coach the Calgary Royals, a junior B team that's pretty historic in Canada.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I was back on the ice. In 5 years, and
How was that when you got back out there?
Crazy.
Yeah.
I went for my interview, and, like, the guy who interviewed me knew who I was, and he'd known my story. He said, like, I'll meet you in the biggest Walmart parking lot, like, with 1 million people around. He's like, I want to make sure you're safe.
Sure. Yeah. 100%.
Like 100%. And he was such a cool guy. And, you know, we went on, and I think our record that year was like 27-4-4. Like, we only lost 4 games, and
wow.
It was unbelievable. And we won that championship. And I finally was like, I have my power back. Like,
yeah.
You're not going to take hockey away from me ever again.
Right.
And I've
refueled your passion for the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been pretty successful.
Yeah.
Since
100%.
Yeah. I love coaching. I'm coaching now. And
yeah. Who are you coaching now?
I coach the London Junior Knights.
That's awesome.
The midget team. Yeah. And
awesome.
We're in the Alliance Finals right now. We just had a berth in the Alliance Finals. So it starts tomorrow night against Kitchener.
Very cool.
It's pretty
cool.
I'm pumped. I don't usually have a beard, right? But this is the playoffs, and it's so itchy. Like, it's so unbelievably itchy.
Oh, you get past it, buddy.
You get past it.
You get past it, then it doesn't even bother
Then it doesn't
you.
matter, right?
Yeah, not at all.
Cool.
Yeah, so this is the first year I've done this with my beard as well. So this is new to me, but I don't mind it. My daughter doesn't like it. That's the only reason I'd shave it, actually. She said, Daddy, next time you come up, that better be gone. So I'm enjoying the last little while with it.
Right
but I'll dedicate it to your playoffs.
Awesome.
So you can have my beard too.
That. Yeah. I like that.
So man, after you've gone through everything, like, you're doing some really exciting things. You're always sharing on social media some really positive, empowering stuff. So there is light at the end of the tunnel.
There is, yeah.
Do you feel like you have an appreciation for life now? Is it still as difficult, or do you get up every day as kind of like grateful that you're here?
I try to.
Yeah, I know.
I try to. Life's still gonna happen, right? And
right.
So,
yeah.
Through all that, I got sober on January 1st, 2014. I've been sober for 3 years now.
Yeah, 3 years?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Which is like the biggest, it's my Stanley Cup. Like, it's my life Stanley Cup is getting sober. And so many opportunities have come from getting sober, like, just from making that reach out for help. Like, and I didn't do it by myself. I got a lot of help, like, and a ton of support and a lot of counseling, a lot of therapy that,
Good
you
for
know,
you,
and
man.
I just kept going. I think I was resilient enough in that. Like, I was like a drowning man trying to breathe, right? And I've been to 65 counselors.
Wow.
And I finally found one that worked, right? And you know, and I kept going,
yeah,
right? Like,
sure.
It's the best thing that I've ever done is go get counseling. I think Oprah Winfrey, the most successful woman in the world, goes and sees a counselor every week.
Yep.
Like, what's the harm in going seeing a counselor? And
Not at all.
I don't think there's anything wrong.
I think that it's becoming, like, we live in a time now where I feel like mental health is less taboo than it's ever sort of been. Yeah. And I think that that's a great thing. When people start talking and not being afraid to discuss medications they're on, or depression they're going through, or addiction they're going through, that's the way that we can really help one another, and that's what we're fucking here for. I mean, it's all about love. It's not about, oh, that guy's fucked because he's on these meds. I mean, everybody... I believe that everybody's going to face depression at one point or another in their life, whether it's external circumstances or internal, whatever. But none of us are immune to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, like, it doesn't discriminate, right?
No, not at all.
I learned that especially with addiction, that, like, your lawyer could be an addict. Yeah. Your teacher could be an addict, right? It's not that guy living under the bridge with a brown paper bag. Right. Like, it's anyone, and it's all walks of life. And
some people just hide it better and have more money to do it.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I ran out of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then that's what I turned to crime, and that's, you know, when you get shady morals and shit like that.
Sure.
So, I mean, getting sober, it was a struggle to start getting sober, and I learned that really early that I had a story to share with people, and that I was okay with sharing that. So I got asked really early in my sobriety to start sharing my story, and
good.
Since then, since 2014, I've spoken for over 100,000 people since then, and I just keep sharing my story because I know that it empowers people. I spoke at a recovery breakfast with Sean McCann from Great Big Sea.
Very cool.
And he never disclosed that he was sexually abused, and I just got up there and shared my story, like I just did here.
Yep.
And he kind of threw away his notes, like he was just going to sing some songs and talk about that he's in recovery from alcohol. And he just got up there and disclosed his sexual abuse for the first time ever.
Wow. So your story inspired a singer from Great Big Sea. And that's fucking awesome,
and
man.
I'm like from Halifax. Yeah. I listen to these guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like, no way. And now me and Sean have an awesome friendship. Like, we talk all the time.
Very cool.
Anytime he comes to London, he makes sure that we get together. And I think, like, it's not about me anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? It's about the power that everyone's story has.
Yes.
Like, and everyone's story is impactful, and it doesn't have to be so terrible, and it doesn't have to be great.
Right.
You just got to have a story, and everyone's got a story.
Everybody's got a story. I agree, man, and that's what this is all about, right? It's kind of like storytelling in a way. But at the end of the day, we obviously want the message. We hope the message is positive. It might not be all the time. Yeah. But we're just trying to inspire those people that maybe aren't strong enough. Yeah. Or at least entertain on the Sunday nights when we do the sex show. Entertain people to, people that are feeling sad, make them a little happy.
Yeah.
But I think that everything that you've gone through is amazing. So let's talk about where you are now. Like, who have you been talking to lately? I mean, what's your trend here? Are you talking to high schools? Are you talking to, like, who do you go and talk to normally?
I'll talk to anyone.
You'll talk to anyone?
Yeah, I'll talk to anyone. Like, I have some speaking engagements coming up at King's College. And it's a thing called jack.org.
Cool.
And then the adulting journey. And it's just kind of about resilience in your adulthood. And I don't really know if I have a good enough story for, like, school age kids, like elementary school, because I'm pretty raw when I talk about this stuff. And I think that someone maybe a little more sensitive should talk to school age kids. But I've talked to a lot of high schools, college age kids. I do a lot of community events and stuff like that. And so this Facebook thing has started, and it's like started with those 6 guys, and we have 6,100 people.
Great now, on 1 in 5.
Yeah, from all over the world, right? And
very cool.
I get to see, like, the back door of it, like see where everyone's from, and we've reached like 6 continents around the world, and like, I think that's empowering, that we've been able to at least share with people that it's okay to share their story,
right?
Like, and it's up to them, right? And I can give them all the tools, but they gotta find that courage inside them. And I have always thought that courage is a superpower that we all have, right?
100%.
And we got to tap into that sometimes. And I have social anxiety. I've been diagnosed with social anxiety, and I fight that every time I get on stage and talk to someone.
Right. I have the same thing. I mean, I get anxiety all the time. I have anxiety disorder.
Yep.
So, what do you do if you have social anxiety? What have you been sort of the exercises that you do to kind of get through that? I mean, do you take medication?
I don't know.
So you get through it all naturally.
Well, I was on medication, and I've been on antidepressants, and they've made me more suicidal.
Really?
And so I've kind of switched over to this holistic. About 18 months ago, got into the holistic side of things. So I do a lot of meditation.
Me
I
too.
do a ton of meditation.
You see the mats behind you?
Oh
there?
yeah, I love it. I love that stuff. Like, I wouldn't 5 years ago, if you said, like, Paulie, you'll be meditating, I would have like been like, you're higher than me.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
There is no way.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like I color. I'm like, I love those
the
adult
color.
Love them.
Books?
Like I don't have normal Berenstain Bears coloring books. Like they're all like fuck shit, you know.
Yeah.
Like I love that stuff. And in my sobriety, I've got into playing a lot of music. I started playing guitar and.
Very cool.
Like a wild thing. I didn't know who Sarah Smith was when I got sober, and so we wrote a song together, like in my sobriety, called "Angels and Anchors." And
I saw that.
It's
That's
got
awesome.
like 15,000 views on a music video that we're in, and
Very
she
cool.
put it on her album. And I think like
that's very cool.
No way. Like this is all from getting sober, right? And it's all from just being me. And I think that's what's made me as successful as I am. Is I'm always just me, and I don't sugarcoat shit. And, like I said, there's two things I won't talk about. I won't talk about what happened in that apartment, and I won't ever say this guy's name. And that's pretty well. Other than that, like I am an open book.
Sure.
You can ask me anything. And I mean, even after this, like I'll get vulnerable, but I know I'm in a safe spot. Like
you are.
I'm in a safe environment.
Safe container, we call it.
Yeah, it's like it's like from the old school. From like we're in the trust tree.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
in the tree.
I thought we were in the tree.
We're in the tree. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what you need.
Yeah.
To share your story. It's just a safe environment, and people that are willing to listen. And I think that's what I found is when I speak, people are willing to listen to my story, and they're willing to listen to my truth. And I'll keep talking.
Well, you've had some interesting people come into your life. I mean, Theo Fleury and Michael Landsberg, right? Yeah. And Landsberg. I keep mixing up with Landsberg, but Landsberg. So are you a member of Sick Not Weak? He's doing a movement for mental health as well, right?
So I've been a community partner with them. So I've written a blog with them, and I've spoken at an event with them, and they're really cool. Like they're such a cool organization. And my friend Colleen Rennie works with them too. And it's such a cool thing that he does, and he's so humble with it. Like he's so humble with it, but he's so real with like he wants to make sure that people that are living with this stuff know that they're sick and that they're not weak.
Right.
And so I have a strong feeling that it's gonna peak really soon because they have so many cool people that are on board with them.
Right, sure.
And anytime the Michael reaches out to me or Colleen reaches out to me or anyone from Sick Not Weak, like I'm always for helping them out.
100%.
I think that there's such a cool, because they highlight a lot of, and it's not even famous people, it's real stories.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we see these people on SportsCenter or playing in the NHL, and we never think that they're going to struggle with anything. And we see that and we say like they're real people.
Yeah.
They're all right. And just recently in November, I got to meet Claire Hughes, and like we got to spend an afternoon painting, like doing a little bit of art therapy, and like that was so empowering. And she's such a huge support of 1 in 5. And
very cool.
Like I thought, like you're my, she's one of my heroes, right? And she's, she wanted to know everything about my life and like how she can help, and she still emails me, and I'm like, wow,
awesome.
It's such a cool life I'm living now.
Yeah.
Like it really is. And it's all from just making right choices.
Yeah. I mean, the sweet just isn't as sweet without the sour, right?
Yeah, that's exactly
so it's nice that you have this appreciation. I'm really happy with what you're doing with 1 in 5. I hope that it continues to grow.
I hope so too.
Yeah. And I think that it's really nice to see that people that are sort of celebrities are reaching out to people just as people. And that's kind of what this is for. And it's to encourage everyone. Like everyone has a story, like you're saying. And just if you feel comfortable, come on, share. You never know who you're going to inspire. So, and we have a really cool guest coming on Wednesday.
Cool.
Which I think is part of 1 in 5, Nicole Stevenson.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know that. It's just the co-founder of Final Rose Entertainment, Matt, knows her, and he's like, she wants to come in and tell her story. And then I was like, you guys are doing the same thing.
Yeah, cool.
So I have you both this week, which is really cool.
Yeah, she's working with 1 in 5. She's a great help for
Absolutely.
sure. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and that just kind of worked out this week. I'm like, wow, they're both coming in the same week. That's very cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I mean, what would be like any final words moving forward? First of all, actually, before we go into that. It's sex and suicide, right? So you've obviously been sexually assaulted. How do you overcome, like for anyone that's been through what you've been through, how do you overcome that to become sort of sexually active again? Is that a big hurdle for you?
That's a massive hurdle for me. Like I think, obviously I know that I had sex because Amber got pregnant with Nathan.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But it was incredibly hard to be naked in front of anyone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that took a long time. I'm not even sure how how it all started again. But I know I didn't have a lot of sex.
Yeah.
And that was a tough thing, because I didn't, even the woman that I trusted, I didn't want her to see me naked, because I thought that there was dirt all over me and filth, and
sure,
I didn't want her to feel like shit. But I've come to a side now that I'm, I used to think like, what did this guy think? Did he think I'm gay? I'm not gay. I have nothing against, homosexuality, but I'm a heterosexual. And
yeah.
I try to make sure that I know that, or I believe that. Do you know what I mean? And it's tough.
It is tough.
Sexuality is a tough thing when you've gone through this stuff, and I think I've come a long way.
Good for you
with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, are you single right now? Are you dating, or are you trying it out? Like, I mean, it's a bright future for you, right?
It is.
So,
it is. Yeah, I am seeing someone right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's going really well.
And you're just kind of taking it slow, day by day.
Yeah. She's really supportive of me, and
good.
She knows my whole story. She just saw me speak for the first time. And
awesome, man.
I think she's probably tuned in tonight, which is really cool.
Good. Well, very cool.
Yeah.
As long as you're open and honest, and I think, as we talked about before, the key to really getting through these struggles is probably just to be honest, be transparent, and just be you.
Yeah, and that's all I am. I'm just me, and I'm me when I'm here, and I'm me when I'm on the city bus, and I'm me when I'm talking, when I'm speaking in front of. It doesn't matter if it's 5 people or 5,000 people. I'm just gonna be me. And
right.
Even when I have conversations with my girl, it's just me, right? And she supports that. And
awesome.
What a beautiful thing,
100%.
It's a pretty cool
thing. Is she sober too? Like, did you meet her through sobriety?
No, like not in recovery. We just kind of met through mutual friends, I think.
Yeah.
And she's just a real sweetheart. She's not in recovery, but she really respects it
and understands it. Yeah.
She definitely does.
Cool.
That's all I need. She supports me wholeheartedly.
Dude, I'm super happy for you, because
man.
Everything's like, you've gone through the fucking the ringer, right?
I have,
everything seems to be coming together, and I think the future's really bright for you, your organization, and the woman that you're with.
Yeah,
so,
I appreciate that.
Man.
I've had a great time tonight. This is really cool.
Hey, dude, an hour just flew by.
That's nuts.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
That's nuts.
Have you ever done a podcast before?
I did one on the Anonymity podcast with Ty Bullinger.
Yep.
And that's a recovery-based podcast. And we went on for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
and he's like, holy shit, we got to go. Like, I got to cut this off. I'm like, okay, time to go.
It's amazing how long you can go on for,
Oh, it's
right?
nuts, yeah.
But the thing is, we'll bring you back, man. If you've got more to share, if there's something that you're like, hey, Sean, I got something I want to share with you guys.
Cool.
By all means.
Awesome.
Right?
I would love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Any last words that you want to give a shout out to anyone, or anything you want for anyone else out there that might be living in a car right now? I mean, the chances are they might not be watching this.
Might not be,
but
I think that all I can say, and like I've been asked, it's a great question, because I get asked this a lot, and I think if I can say anything to people that are struggling, is that you're valued and you're desired and you're loved, whether you think that or not. And that's all I ever wanted to hear from people, and I didn't hear that. And so if I can send that message to anyone that's struggling, who doesn't think they're valuable or desired or believed, like I didn't think I was believed. And I want to tell anyone that you're believed, like I believe you. Yeah. And I think that's a pretty simple way to do it, is like you're loved, you're valued, you're desired, you're believed.
Well, I think those are great words, and I think so as well. I mean, there's a reason for everyone to be here.
Yeah.
So, Paulie obviously tried the suicide attempts, and look at him now. So anyone that's watching that's contemplating that or in a dark place, hopefully you can see that there's good that comes out of this. So tough it out. We need you here, right?
We need you. Yeah, we need you.
All right, man. Well, I want to thank you again for coming. We'll end the podcast here tonight, guys. So hopefully tune back in Wednesday. We're going to have one of Paulie's... Can I call her a colleague? She's a colleague. Yeah. Nicole will be with us. And we'll see you guys Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in.
Awesome.